take you home with this, I might give you all of it. Come get your clothes up, the sweetest time.
Now, the current or the modernized version of the pre-trip inspection in Massachusetts allows us to use this checklist here as a reference to go over the pre-trip as we complete it. And as you notice, every single thing that we need to check on this checklist here is all the examiner wants to hear. So a lot of the things that we used to do the old way is no longer needed. A lot of the things that you will not even see here. So if you have any questions or anything, leave a comment and I can answer any of those. But this is as of October 10th in Massachusetts. We are going by this new way of doing the pre-trip test. A lot of the way that I'm going to be doing is going to be done by memory, but it's just going to involve what's needed right here with some, specific wording that they want to hear as well. It will not follow the exact order of the checklist. However, it will cover everything on the checklist. Certain things might be a little bit out of order, but that really does not matter as long as every single thing on this checklist is covered. So like I said, I'm going to do it by memory and by visual first, and then I will go back and just use this as a reference. So on the date of your test, you can ask the examiner for one of these. He will give you a laminated copy with a dry erase marker and allow you to use it. It's up to you if you want to use it or not. I just had someone go for their test. They did not need to use it and they passed without a problem. A lot of it is repetition, just like learning the pre-trip before. A lot of it is still repetition, so you're going to start learning this up pretty quickly. However, it's a good thing to have with new trainees or new people learning the pre-trip, so it's good for them to learn as well. So with all of that said, we're going to go ahead and start the pre-trip. But one more note before I say that: when you go for your test, the only markings they will allow on that form are the checks in the boxes. They will not allow you to put any other side notes or anything. Let's say if you're walking around with the checklist in your hand and you forgot something on the inside of the bus that you want to check towards the end, you're not allowed to write it down on that and say, okay, I'm going to go back and check this. No, the only thing they will allow are the checks on the squares. That's it. Anything else, they will take it from you and say that you did not perform it correctly. All right, so with all of that said, we're going to go ahead and start the pre-trip inspection. Just like with every other thing, we're going to chalk our wheels first. Since I'm exiting the vehicle, I'm taking the key with me. Anytime I exit the vehicle as well, it's always 3 points of contact. 2 hands, 1 feet, or 2 feet, 1 hand, and always closing the door behind you at all times. Right, chocks, the same placement as you would use for your air brakes test, as you just seen in what you may see in the previous video that I just completed. Chocks go same tire, rear outermost tire on the passenger side, 1 in the front, 1 in the rear. Okay, now we're going to enter back into the bus. You may go ahead, Mitch. All right, entering the bus again, 3 points of contact. And I'm going to simply close the door behind me and start my pre-trip inspection. I can use this, I can hold on to this, or I can not use it. Like I said, a lot of this is going to be done by visual and by memory first. So starting with my emergency equipment, I'm going to go down below here. I have my fire extinguisher. It's an ABC fire extinguisher. It has a current registration and it's fully charged, and I can see that the needle is in green and is secured properly to the bus. I also have 3 triangles with 6 spare fuses inside. Both are present and secured to the bus. And I have 2 chocks that are currently being in use. I also have a first aid kit and a spill cleanup kit. Both are fully stocked, present and secured, and the labels or the tags are not damaged, and saying that the first aid kit or spill cleanup kit has been in use. All right, so sitting down on the driver's seat area, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn on and check my indicator lights on the dash. All of my lights on the dash lit up. I'm making sure that my DEF light, my ABS light, and my check engine light all go off. The DEF light and the check engine light both went off. DEF light and the ABS light both went off, and now I was just waiting for the check engine, which also went off as well. So now I'm going to continue with my indicator lights, going with my left turn signal. That indicator light's working properly. Right turn signal, that indicator light is also working properly. High beams, those are working properly. And four-way flashes, those indicator lights are working properly. As I continue on with my windshield area, I'm going to go ahead and check my my windshield wipers. They're operating smoothly on all levels. The fluid is coming out. It's dispensing properly, and the blades are not damaged and are secured. Also here, I'm going to check the horn. The horn is working properly. The windshield itself, the windshield is free of any cracks or damage, free of any obstructions. The only obstructions we have are the state and school bus inspection stickers, which are both current and up to date. The windshield's free of cracks, and the seals around the windshield are all intact. While I'm here also, I'm going to go ahead and check my driver defroster heater. I'm going to check it on low and high. I'm going to get up and check to make sure that the vents are not clogged and that it's coming out properly, which I do feel. So those are working good, both on high and low. Also, I'm going to check my step well heater, low and high. That's working properly. And I'm going to check my rear heater, low and high, and that is also working properly. So from here now, I'm going to go ahead, and this bus is equipped with a lamp check button, that will illuminate all my exterior lights with the press of a button. So from here, what I can do, I'm going to go ahead and press the lamp button, and I'm going to start from top to bottom, looking at all of my lights on through my crossover mirrors. So I see my 3 amber clearance light working properly up above. I have 2 reds and 2 yellow school bus warning lights. Those are both proper color, working correctly. Down below, I have 2 directional, left and right, proper color, working properly, and 2 headlights, high and low beam, both working properly. Along the sides of my bus, I have 3 amber clearance lights and a right turn signal on the right side, all proper color, working properly. And the left side of my bus, I have 3 amber clearance lights, 2 amber, 1 red, and a left turn signal. All are working properly and have the proper color. From this point, I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk to the back of the bus. And as I walk to the back of the bus, I'm going to be checking all of my seats, tops and bottoms, to make sure that they are all secured properly to the bus and to the bus floor. There's no damage to the cushions. Cushions are all intact, and if there is any damage, it should not be unrepaired. So I check all of them as I go back, making sure that they all are secure. Now when I come to the back of the bus, I'm also going to check another light, which is my emergency exit door light here. That is working properly. I'm also going to check my emergency door. The windows are both intact, not cracked, broken, or damaged. The seals around the window are also intact. I'm going to open the door. When I open the door, the alarm sounds, and the door opens freely and latches properly. So from here, now I can go ahead and look at my rear lights, and I got a very good view of everything, so I'm going to mention the lenses about these lights as well. Starting from top to bottom, I have 3 red clearance lights up above, working properly, proper color, and the lenses are not cracked, broken, or damaged. I have a left and right red and yellow school bus warning lights. Both are proper color, and the lenses are not cracked, broken, or damaged, working properly. Down below, I have a left and right directional and 4 brake and tail lights, both amber in color on the directional and red in color on the brake lights, all working properly, and the lenses there are not cracked, broken, or damaged. Now I'm just going to close the emergency door, and I'm going to move my way to the front of the bus. As I move my way back to the front, I'm just going to simply point out the remaining emergency exits. I do not have to open them or describe them. I'm simply pointing them out. So I have 2 roof hatch emergency exits on the bus, 1 here, 1 in the front. I also have 4 emergency window exits, clearly labeled, 2 on the left and right passenger side here, passenger and driver side, and then also clearly labeled passenger and driver side emergency exit. The last emergency exit I also have is my passenger entry door that can also be used as an emergency exit. The instructions right there are clearly labeled, and I would use that in the case of an emergency. Now, sitting back down in the driver's seat, I'm going to go ahead and test my do my passenger entryway, my crossing arm, and my stop arm. So to do this, first thing I'm going to do is turn on my master switch and open my door. Once I open my door, I notice that my passenger door opens freely and there was no obstructions, no damage to the door. I'm looking at my steps. The steps are free of any obstruction or debris. It has the proper tread on the steps. My light, my step well light came on and is working properly. And the two handrails, this one is intact, and I'll also check that one when I exit the bus, but the handrails are also intact. As I'm looking up front ahead of me, I have my crossing arm that came out. The crossing arm is working correctly. I will check to make sure there's no missing bolts or nuts and it's secured properly to the bus. And then over here on my left side, I'm also looking at my my stop sign. The stop sign lights are working properly. I can see from here there's no cracks or damage to the lens. It extended properly. When I go outside, I'm going to make sure that it's connected properly to the bus. Now I'm going to close my door, and at this point, and you can do it at any point of your test, but right now I can do it. You can do it at the beginning, you can do it towards the end. Right now, I'm going to be checking my passenger monitoring devices and my traffic monitoring. Alright, so at this point of the test, I'm going to make my correction that I did in the last video that I did, which I stated that you did not have to check off passenger and traffic monitoring devices because it was not mentioned in the, it was not on the checklist. However, that was incorrect according to the CDL manual and according to the examiner. Your traffic monitoring devices and your passenger monitor devices are your mirrors. So my passenger monitoring devices would be my two crossover mirrors, which are both clean and clear, free of cracks or damage, and secured properly to the bus, and also my interior passenger mirror, which is clean and clear and secured properly to the bus and free of cracks or damage. My traffic monitoring devices are my left and right flat mirrors and my left and right convex mirrors. All four of those are free of cracks or damage and secured properly to the bus, clean and clear. You would also go outside and check to make sure that the brackets are secured. So when you do check all of these, the most important thing you want to say at the end is to say that all of my mirrors are adjusted for me. So when you go outside, you are simply checking that the brackets to these mirrors are secured properly to the bus. So you're once again going to say outside, as you're going to see on the checklist, my traffic monitoring devices and my passenger monitoring devices, the brackets are secured properly to the bus on both the driver's and passenger side of the bus. But always remember to say that they are adjusted for me. Well, so just doing a quick double check, looking around me and making sure that I grabbed everything that I needed to get on the inside of the bus. One thing, however, that I did forget to mention, which is also very important, are my indicator lights for my yellow and red school bus. So from this point, now that I did my double check, I'm going to go ahead and turn the light test button back on and just simply mention I can see my amber indicator light for my school bus warning lights on the dash, and then my red flash lights, indicator lights on the dash as well. Both are working properly and illuminated. Okay, so I checked those and made sure those indicator lights were working properly. Now I can go ahead and shut them off. At this point, you can use your checklist if you're going to use it, just to double check every single thing on here and make sure you did not forget anything. So as I look here, the first two things on this checklist is the air and parking brake checks. We, in the previous video, just completed the 10-step air brake test, so these two would automatically be checked, as well as your service brake check as well. We did the lighting indicators, we did the emergency equipment, we checked the windshield and traffic monitoring devices, which are the mirrors. The wipers and washers we checked, the heaters and defrosters, and the horn. We did the passenger entry area, we did all of the emergency exit, the passenger seating, and the passenger monitoring devices, which once again are the mirrors as well. We checked our school student lights front and back, we did our stop arm, and we did our first aid and body fluid cleanup kits. And we checked all of the external lights. So this complete portion of this checklist has been completed. So all we're left with now is completing from the front vehicle area, engine area, the steering axle side of the vehicle, and the rear. As far as the rear of the vehicle, we completed most of that when we were in the back of the bus. The only parts we did not mention were the reflectors, and that we do when we do the complete walk around the bus. So at this point, I'm now, before I exit the bus, since my stop sign was engaged, that activated my child checkmate system. I'm going to turn on this vehicle here. You have to turn the key all the way to the left to deactivate the system first. So my key is all the way to the left. I'm going to simply walk to the back of the bus. On any regular school day, we after each drop off at the schools, or pick up when you drop off at the end of your runs, you're checking in between each seat, making sure no children or no objects were left on your bus. And then you're going to go to the back and press the reset button. And then when you're on your way back, you're just simply doing your double check to make sure, once again, no children or objects were left behind on the bus. Okay, so that completed the interior part of the pre-trip. Now we're just going to go outside and we're going to do the exterior portion. So keys are with me once again. Putting the door into emergency mode and exiting the vehicle using 3 points of contact. Then I'm going to close the door behind me. Okay, so once again, right here, before I stop, just double checking this handrail here, making sure that one is secured. We already did this one, so double check and get that one as well. Over here, this side of the bus, we're checking our traffic monitoring devices and our passenger monitoring devices, brackets only. We already did everything about the mirrors themselves, so now we're just checking the brackets, making sure the brackets are secured to the bus, no missing bolts, and are secured properly. I'm unlatching that hood strap because I'm going to be going underneath the hood next. Now the driver's side of the bus doing the same thing, just double checking, making sure the brackets on the traffic and passenger monitoring devices are all working properly. So from here, now we're just going to stand in front of the bus, going top to bottom, checking the bus lenses themselves. We did the lights and made sure that all the operation and the correct colors on the inside. So right now we're just going to mention the lights. 3 amber clearance lights, 2 red school bus warning lights, 2 yellow school bus warning lights, 2 headlights, high and low beams. The lenses on all of the lights are not cracked, broken, or damaged. And as we previously mentioned, they are all the correct color from the inside. And also, now we're just giving a tug on the crossing arm, making sure there's no missing nuts or bolts, and those are also secured properly to the bus. So from here now, we can just simply open the hood and go with the steering axle area only. So, starting on this side of the bus, we're going to start with our transmission dipstick and our oil dipstick. Both of those are present, secured to the bus. If I were to check them, the bus would be off. I would take them out, making sure that the fluid is between add and full. Off to my engine coolant. The reservoir is at the proper level between add and full. I don't notice any leaks coming from the tank. The cap is on securely, and looking at the hoses connecting to the tanks, I don't see any leaks or damage coming from the hoses. Same thing with the power steering fluid. The cap is on securely. The reservoir is not leaking, not damaged. The level is between add and full. Once again, no damage coming from the hoses, and it's secured properly. No leaks or anything coming from the hoses, no damage to them, and it is secured properly to the bus. Off to my steering system here. Starting with the steering gearbox. There's no leaks coming from the gearbox. There is all of the bolts are present, and I don't notice any damage at all. All of my links, arms, and rods connecting the gearbox to the wheel are all intact, and they are secured with castle keys, cotter keys, and castle nuts and bolts. None are damaged, none are loose or missing, and in between the joints and sockets are not loose, worn, or torn. Off to my suspension system here. My shock absorber is straight up and down. I don't notice any leaks. It's connected properly to the frame and to the front axle. The frame itself is intact with no illegal welds or holds or bends or any type of damage to the frame. Looking at my spring mounts are connected properly to the frame and to the leaf spring. No missing lug nuts, bolts, or anything loose to it. The leaf springs over here, all are intact. None are shifted, none are cracked, none are broken. Off to my air system. All we need to know is that the air hose itself, you don't hear any air coming from the air hose, you don't see any damage. And looking at the brake pads itself, there's no excess oil, dirt, or grease in the brake pads, and it is free from any type of contaminants. Brake drum and pad. All right, so now we're going to go right on to the tire. Starting with the tire, we're looking at the tire. There is no cuts or bubbles or damage on the inside or the outside of the wall of the tire. We have the proper tread depth of 4/32 of an inch of tread on the tire. You would check that with a tread depth gauge. You do not have to bring a tread depth gauge on the test. You simply are mentioning this is what how you would check it. And it's also inflated properly to 110 psi. You would check that with a tire pressure gauge. You do not have to bring the tire pressure gauge on the test. You are simply, once again, mentioning that's how you would check it. Now, off to the rim itself. The rim is free of any damage, any cracks, any welds, any rust. No holes or anything on the rim itself. It's in good shape. Looking at all of our lug nuts are present. None are missing. They are secured and tight to the lug nut bolts. I don't notice any shiny spots, any rust. The bolts themselves are free of any bends or damage. They're not stripped or elongated at all. And then we also have a valve stem. The valve stem is present and secure. The cap is on securely, and I don't hear any damage or air coming from the valve stem itself. And at this point, that will complete this front engine compartment area, and we can go ahead and close the hood. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start on the passenger side of the bus. In the other video, you see me start on the driver's side. However, after being tested a couple times, they want us to start on the passenger side of the bus as well. So we've already mentioned everything that we need to do on the passenger side of the bus besides our DEF tank here. So starting with our DEF tank, we're going to simply open the door. Make sure it opens and closes freely. The cap is on securely. It's connected with a chain, and there's no leaks or damage coming from the tank itself or the cap, and the gasket is secure. As I move away along the side of the bus here, I'm just going to check these lenses as well. I have my 3 clearance light lenses. We already checked the operation when we was on the inside, and we have my right passenger turn signal lens. We also checked that operation on the inside of the bus as well. So the lenses are free of any cracks or damage. 2 emergency exits are clearly labeled with the reflective tape around the window, and we have 3 reflective dots on the bottom, 2 amber, 1 red, letting you know the proper location of the bus. At this point, since we don't have them in the front, we have airbags, which is part of the suspension system. They want to hear about those if your bus has them. So right here on the rear of the bus, I can see very clearly my 2 airbags. I don't hear any damage coming from the airbags. I don't see any, I don't hear any leaks, and I don't see any damage coming from the airbags, and they're secured properly to the bus. And then off to my diesel door. We did the DEF door. The diesel is exactly the same, the fuel door. Cap is on securely, chain is intact, gasket is intact. Door opens and closes freely. There's no leaks coming from the cap area, and underneath I'm looking right here and I don't see any leaks coming from the tank area, and I don't see any damage. So now we're going to make our way to the rear of the bus. We took care of all the lights and everything already, so from this point we're just simply looking for the reflective tape around the door and the 2 reflective dots, making sure those are intact and proper color. And then from here we're going to just make sure that the rear emergency door opens as well from the outside. Now we can go ahead and move to the final part of the bus. At this part, we're going to simply say we would check this side of the bus the same way we would check the passenger side. However, the other 2 differences that we have on this side of the bus is going to be our battery box and the stop sign itself. So we did most of the stop sign inside, and right now we're just checking to make sure that it is secured properly to the bus. There's no missing nuts or bolts. We have a better view of the lenses, so we can go ahead and just look at the lenses on both sides, making sure those are not cracked, broken, or damaged. We also, finally, we have a battery box here. Fuse box we do not need to do unless you have your spare fuses in there. If you do, go ahead and open it and show the spare fuses, but they have not asked us to do that. Just mentioning them should be okay. But the battery box they do want you to open, making sure that the door opens and closes properly. Looking down at the connections, there's no fray or damage to the wiring. The wires and connections are connected properly to the battery, and the box itself is secured to the bus. It's not going to simply come out. The push pins and everything are intact, so it's not going to come out. And that will complete the battery part of the test. Now, if you want to, you can just go ahead and mention the lenses as well on this side of the bus, which are your 3 clearance light lenses and your turn signal lens, just making sure that they are free of damage, and also your reflective tape around your emergency exits. But like I said, we've done that on the opposite side of the bus, so I'm not sure if that's going to get you any extra points if you need to. So now, just by memory and visual, I feel that I have completed the pre-trip inspection. So what I'm going to simply do at this point is I'm going to just do my double check and look at this to make sure that I didn't miss anything here. So I did all of my lenses, starting at the front of the vehicle area. I did all of my lenses, making sure those were intact. In the engine compartment, we checked our fluid levels. We listened for air leaks and looked at the fluids from the outside. And we went through our steering system components. So all of those can get a check over here. Starting with the steering axle, we talked about the tires, the rims, the lug nuts, the spring mounts, the airbags, and the shocks. We went through our brake lines and hoses, and we listened for any leaks, and we checked our brakes for any contaminants. So we checked clear of all of that. Lenses and reflectors, we did that. We just finishing that off. Traffic monitoring devices, which are your convex and flat mirrors, we checked those as well. The battery we just did. Fuel tanks were on the opposite side of the vehicle, as well as a DEF tank. And the frame of the bus we checked over here. We don't have to really go underneath to look at the frame. If you mention it here, it takes care of the entire bus. And at the rear of the bus, we did both on the inside and outside, which was checking the lenses and the reflectors to make sure that none were cracked, broken, or damaged. So once you are sure, this is when you would tell the examiner, yes, that completes my pre-trip inspection.